What's up, podcast? Hope you guys are doing well. Worship leaders, friends, musicians, singers, pastors, audio tech, you name it in worship ministry. Thank you so much. Brandon Dempsey here with you back. We are back after a little bit of a break, and it is so good to be with you this day. And we hope that everything that God is blessing within your ministry is right there for you, and it's easy for you to step into His grace daily in what you're doing in ministry and how you are being a blessing to your church and to others, worship leaders and teams. Man, it is so good to be back. Everybody loves a quitter. So that title, what goes off in your mind when you hear that? We're about to dive into finding out what exactly that entails. As we get there, members, what's up? Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video as you guys are members here at Worship Team Training University and all of our other worship leaders and friends listening to us by iTunes, iHeart, Stitcher, where else. Thank you so much for subscribing to this podcast and uploading us into your playlist. We love you and thank you. So members, be sure that you check the calendar at wttu.co/events. We have good friend Tommy Walker is coming on the program this Thursday. Don't miss that. Followed up by Holland Davis the next week, and check the calendar to find other artists and events that are coming your way very soon. Let's jump right into it. We have this, what's up with the quitter thing? So what does it mean to actually have somebody that leaves in your worship ministry? And how do you go through that? How do you actually work through what seems to be the confines of, man, we lost this guitar player, we lost this singer. You know, this happens way more often than what you think. So let's just put to ease right now those of you who think, well, man, I feel alone in this and no one else goes through what I go through. Not true. I will tell you that even the worship leaders that we interview here have gone through those struggles. So, and myself included. So you're in good hands. If you're listening to this broadcast right now, and awesome if it helps you, we hope that it does and it lifts up your day. So I'm also hoping to dive in a little bit to the story of Philemon, because Philemon, the book of Philemon, has a lot to do with someone who leaves, someone who is having a struggle, and then having to be received back into the flock, into the fold. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So how do you feel when a worship team member leaves your ministry? What goes off in your mind right now? Maybe you think about yourself. Maybe you think about the guilt that it brings. Maybe you think, wow, well, I mean, what's going on in their life? And then what do you do when this happens? I think those are number one and two things that go off in worship leaders' minds is, you know, how can this happen? What do I do about it? So what we're going to do about this broadcast is break it up in two parts. This is going to be part one because we're going to make this a little bit short today. But I really like for you to dive in and sink your teeth into it because this is such a good topic for a lot of us to hear. So number one, I've listed out, let's see, 5 things about what you can do and what this may mean for you in your worship ministry. So here we go. Number one, why does this happen? Why do they leave? Okay, so I think that's the number one thing that goes off in our minds. So before we, dive into this first number one section, think about John 15:17. Jesus said, this is the greatest commandment, is to love each other. So, well, how do I do that, Brandon, when someone leaves my ministry? Well, you're exactly right. Maybe point number one, loving your people means that you give them space, even if it doesn't make sense. Okay, so the thing is, you have no idea what's going on in their mind. Now, if they're leaving for a reason that maybe you do know about, well, then you're already ahead of the game, and you, Lord willing, you know what to do in that situation. But reasons can be far beyond you. In fact, I'm going to get into that point too, but it could be work, family, stress, it could be relational, etc. No matter what it may be, the whole idea is that when someone takes a leave, you have to think first, number one, what's maybe going on in their life? What's something that, have you been praying for them? Have you been seeing this down the road? I mean, the thing is, if you're the first time seeing someone leaving and it's oblivious to you, Either number one, that could be an anomaly. Number two, it could be something that maybe you've been seeing signs along the way, but just hadn't done anything about it. So is that you? Okay, so if you're seeing signs of somebody that looks like they're going to leave or something's not right, you got to go to them. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Point number two is, why do they leave? Why do they leave? People live in a real world with real experiences, and really, they just want us to stand beside them. Here's the next point. Now, if the motive, let's say, is negative, like I was saying before, then do the same thing as above. Don't chase them, number one. Just love them where they're at. Give them space. You know what's going on in their heart. You know what's going on in their lives, and you want to be there as a shoulder, not as a pointing the finger of, well, you should be here. I've heard many worship leaders get mad because their pianist left or their main singer left, and they get mad at them. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Do you do that to your own family? I mean, think about the family that you live. And if somebody were to just stop doing something, instead of getting mad, would something signal off to you to think, well, hey, man, there's something not right. I need to go to this one person and figure out what's going on. You know, the worst thing you can do is to vent your anger and get upset about why they're leaving, because at that point, you're really not seeing their need. You're really not being empathetic of where they're at. So I say that you need to love them where they're at and be Jesus to them and seek to understand. I think that's one of the main things that we forget as leaders, is that we first think about our ministry and not the person. Now, hold on. I know you're nodding your heads, and I know that some of you are shaking your heads saying, well, no, that's not me. Well, think about that. I mean, we do. We, as leaders, we tend to think about our ministry as in terms of what? Planning Center Online. You know, how do I schedule each person each week? And if one's not here, oh man, I got to fill in that gap. There you go. We're thinking about the ministry. We're thinking about our programming. We're not thinking about the person. So instead of seeing that neglected or minus or decline status in Planning Center and thinking, oh man, I got to fill the spot, think more about, well, what's going on in their lives? It could be that, oh yeah, they told me 6 weeks ago they're going to be on vacation. Maybe you forgot. Or maybe they said a year ago, hey, I need to step back and just kind of do a little bit at a time. You as a leader need to follow up with them. So the last point in this whole section is the most important thing that you can do is to not leave them. Okay, so that's kind of putting the shoe on the other foot, is to not leave them. Point number two, and this is the biggest thing about what you should do while people leave. Number one, it's not about you. Let's just call it out. It's not about you, or is it you? That's the other part of that question. Matthew 18:12, will the shepherd not leave the 99 on the hills and go to look for the one that wandered off? That's you. That's me. Are we not, as said before in point one, loving them where they're at, going to where they are? 90% of the time, when people have a reason or a motive to do what they do, it has nothing to do with you. However, 90% of the time, church leaders feel that it has to do something with them. So you need to take yourself out of it, worship leader or director, pastor, whoever you are. Take yourself out of it for the moment. Place yourself to the side. Think about the 90%. That's why it's not you. And I think there is a little bit of a truth of, well, what is the 10%? You know, what did I contribute to it? That's okay to think about, but it's not okay to slam your head against the wall and think, oh, I'm the reason why they left. And no, there's more things going on in their lives. So remove yourself from that equation and develop some empathy for the other person, as I said before. Listening is the best thing you can do. Email them, text them. Send them a note. Say, hey, I saw that you dropped from Planning Center, or hey, I understand in your email or voicemail that you have to step down for a time. Well, call them and see what's going on, because that's only giving you more empathy to help them and to pray with them. And you can even say those words, you know what, hey, I'm praying for you during this time. I'm so sorry that this happened. You show the sympathy. Put yourself out there and by removing yourself first, right? And go to them. Don't focus on what you can do. Focus on how you can pray. You can make yourself available to talk and to have time to listen. So I want to put this as the first part of our series, of this first two-part of our series of, what is it? Everyone loves a quitter. And looking at the book of Philemon. So I wanted to set the stage of this sector right here. When we get into point 3, 4, and 5, we're actually going to go through the book of Philemon. And I encourage you to go ahead and read that book in the Bible, Philemon. It's right after, because it's not a very, it's a very short book, and you can miss it easily. It's right after Titus 2. Right after Titus 1 and 2, that's another quick book after Timothy. So you go Timothy, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus, and then Philemon. Check it out, read it. And then we're going to go through points 3, 4, and 5. So, guys, I love you. I hope that this brought some encouragement for you as a leader, but also for you to get some gain insight on what could be happening with that team member. And I hope this helps. So hit me up on the email and let me know what are your struggles and stories that you're going through. Brandon@worshipteamtraining.com. So we're going to conclude this as our time together. And I hope in the meantime that you check back at worshipteamtraining.com, look at everything else that we have for you, and also our university program. We love you guys. And remember, worship leaders and friends, you don't need to be perfect. Just let the Lord Jesus lead you both in life and in worship. Love you. See you soon. Bye.